Saving America is taking on the national debt in a special mini series. Welcome, this is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. And what I'd like to do is to wrap it up with, give everybody about a minute to just say last couple of words, and I'm going to do it in the same order that you presented. So Scott, then Ed, then Naresh, and then Steve. And we'll call it a shot and see how it goes.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for having me, David, and panelists. I appreciate this very much. The thing to remember, or the thing that I'd like to leave you with, is this is a man-made system. The rules, we make the rules. We can change the rules. We can do it intelligently and thoughtfully. We are not doing it intelligently or thoughtfully right now. The entire system is built on trust. And right now, a few are leveraging that system to advantage those few and disadvantage the many. The system requires major revisions. We need to rewrite the rules. It's all down to will. It's only will. It can be done. It is possible to do it if the people decide to do it. There are a lot of reasons we've talked about why we are not willing to do it. But once the pain gets large enough, then we will actually make a shift. And Steve, I understand your pessimism. I'm going to be an optimist here that it may be painful, but we're going to move forward. Thanks.
You know, we have so many problems, so many things that have brought us to this point, but I think, you know, you're right. If the pain gets any more painful, we're going to have to start doing something. People will start noticing. I just don't know how much more pain we can take, honestly. You know, thanks to 8 years of Obama and now, you know, a short period of time with sleepy Joe Biden, you know, we have more people in the cart than are pulling the cart. And in the past, it used to be a majority of us pulling the cart, and those individuals that really couldn't take care of themselves for one reason or another, we would pull them along. But that's now changed. And Democrats keep, you know, facilitating this myth that we just tax the rich and it'll solve our economic problems. And that's not the case. We all know that. There's not enough rich people to bail us out of this mess. You know, I was happy to see our great governor here in Florida make a proposal to have a 5-month gas tax holiday that would return basically about $1 billion to the folks of Florida in reduced gas costs. So at least we have some politicians out there that are thinking of ways, you know, to take the burden off of us. But I don't think we're going to change a lot of things until we get back to our core set of values as Americans. And that includes our religious values. Those things have fallen through the cracks. And it's a shame, but you know, you just look out in San Francisco, you know, you've got people busting into high-end stores, stealing stuff in broad daylight. And it's all because they've reduced $1,000 or less in theft. It's no longer a crime in San Francisco. You know, again, you know, that's part of our value system, and we've lost that. So I think we do need to get back to our core values when we do address this issue, if we ever do address it.
I got you, Ed. Thanks so much. Naresh.
David, you and I did an episode about a civil war, and I truly do believe that we don't live in a United States of America. It's a disunited States of America. So I'm in Florida, Ed's in Florida. We're very, very pleased with how things are going here. It appears Nancy Pelosi, who's in California, is also pleased with how things are going here in Florida. And that just goes to show the dichotomy or the trichotomy or whatever you want to call it within the United States. So I do think eventually the only solution is we are going to have to disunite, because the people in Florida don't want to have to be worrying about or paying for the people in California, when you have thousands of people every month now just going and looting Louis Vuitton stores, Gucci stores, because they can. They're actually now incentivized to do that. So is that a solution? That's my dire solution. But I also want to provide some other solutions on how people watching this can take advantage of this situation. And I'll just say this: stocks, crypto, real estate, gold. Stocks, crypto, real estate, gold. As we keep printing, as we keep spending, I'm not optimistic that the spending is going to stop. I am optimistic that things will get better with our economy and people will get back to work. But again, dichotomy between rich and poor, the haves and the have-nots. I think those four asset classes, stocks, real estate, crypto, gold, will continue to thrive. And they have since the pandemic. Real estate here in Florida is up at least 30%. The average home in the United States is up at least 12% for the year 2021. So real estate has done really well. Rents are continuing to rise, and that's largely because of inflation, just like all other prices. But if you're a landlord, you can raise your rents, and they've gone up at least 15% since the start of the pandemic. Gold, we know, we've already talked about gold, and cryptocurrency is up from about $10,000 when the pandemic started. Well, Bitcoin, about around $10,000, and today it's sitting at around $60,000. And I'm very confident that as more bills are passed, as more spending is done, and yes, and even as more regulation is passed to try to regulate the crypto industry, this digital gold will only continue to thrive.
Fascinating. And Steve, you get the last word today.
Okay. I think ultimately we need to shrink the size of government. It's not the government's job to prop up every individual, every company, and what we see. Somebody mentioned the stimulus checks. They've gotten into this pattern of just sending out money and buying votes, which is a bad precedent to start. They did it when we had the financial crisis in 08. They sent out checks, and now they've sent out what, 3 or 4 rounds of checks in the last year and a half. We need to get back to free markets and allow, companies, people to fail. It's not the government's job to be doing all of these things. And I think Ed probably had the best solution, which is to get rid of Democrats in office. It's really the only chance. And to go with that, it kind of goes back to one of my pet peeves. I think one of the best things we could do is end this mail-in voting thing and get regulations and regulate our elections again, because otherwise I don't think we can get rid of the Democrats, because
Unless there's a civil war.
yes, because they will cheat, and we need to end the mail-in ballots and require voter ID.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Saving America. This is Dr. David D. Shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.